Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Here we are going to discuss about the topic Earthworm and its life cycle and its indigenous and exotic species. So, before moving on to the life cycle, let's have a brief note about what is an earthworm and what are its typical characteristics. So, earthworm, what is an earthworm? Earthworm is an annelid belonging to the phylum Annelida and also belongs to the group of Oligochaeta. As the body is concerned, it is a segmented triploblastic coelomate fleshy worm with bilateral symmetrical organization. They reproduce by sexual reproduction only and is said to be a hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means both the male and female sex organs are present in the same individual. Exhibits copulation, that will be the rule. Fertilization is external and cross fertilization occurs. Development is direct. Earthworms are protandrous. It's a major characteristic. Protandrous means male gamete matures first and the female gametes mature later. So this protandrous condition facilitates cross fertilization. Copulation. How does copulation occurs in case of earthworms? Copulation is defined as the sexual union of two earthworms for the exchange of sperms. Otherwise it's also called as mating. It occurs during the rainy season in the month of July to October. Copulation occurs during the morning hours, usually before sunrise. During copulation, the two mature earthworms come closer and lie in close contact with each other with their anterior ends in opposite directions. And in this position, the male genital apertures of each worm lie opposite to the spermatical openings in the other worm. So the area of the male genital aperture is raised and it's inserted into the spermatical opening of the other worm. So during copulation, the sperms and prostatic fluid are introduced into the spermatheca of one worm to the other one. So both the worms exchange. There is an exchange between prostatic fluid and sperms from one worm to other. So during copulation, they exhibit forward and backward movements and this movement helps to fill the spermatheca fully with sperms. That's how copulation occurs. Cocoon formation. What are the after effect of copulation? Formation of cocoons. Cocoon is the protective covering for eggs, sperms, zygote and young ones. And cocoon is also called ootheca. And these earthworms produce cocoon after copulation. Cocoon is a girdle formed around the clitellum. Clitellum is a swollen portion in the 14 to 17 segments of earthworms, and the earthworms produce cocoon as a girdle. Cocoon is a girdle formed around that clitellum, and this cocoon production is initiated after the maturity of ovaries. Only a mature earthworm can produce a cocoon. Cocoon secreting glands of clitellum secrete a girdle around the clitellum, and this girdle hardens to form the cocoon. So this is how a cocoon is formed. Cocoon secreting glands hardens to form the cocoon secreting glands forms a girdle, and this girdle hardens to form the cocoon. The albumin glands of the clitellum secrete albumin in the cocoon. The worm starts wriggling backwards from the girdle. As the cocoon passes over the female genital aperture, eggs are released into the cocoon. So cocoons over the passes of spermathecal aperture, sperms are released into the cocoon. So the cocoon released from the anterior end of the earthworm. It is produced outside. So that is given outside from the anterior end of the earthworm. The two ends of the cocoon are closed by the elasticity of the wall of the cocoon, and it's said to be the size of a coriander and is lemon shaped, and each cocoon receives 10 to 12 eggs. The eggs are fertilized inside the cocoon. A single worm can produce, that is a single mature worm can produce about 3 cocoons per week. These are light yellow in color at the beginning, and later on when it develops, it turns to blackish color. So this is a picture of cocoons. how a cocoon is formed. Next, development. As I have already said, development in case of earthworms is direct. It is completed within the cocoon itself. Eggs are fertilized inside the cocoon, so fertilization is external, and the fertilized egg is called zygote. Zygote undergoes division, as in case with normal division takes place, and division is called cleavage. Cleavage is holoblastic and spiral. uh, and next, the zygote converted to blastula then develops to gastrula, and gastrula finally matures to form a younger worm. This is normal in case, as we have already studied in different chapters, and this gastrula elongates to form the young earthworms. About 10 to 12 tiny worms are released from each of the cocoons. So this is a pictorial representation of the life cycle of earthworms. How, first of all, mating occurs, forms cocoon, and it gets incubated for about 27 days and forms the young one. Adult, for reaching adult stage, it requires 70 to 80 days. So a total days of 110 number is required for the completion of a life cycle in earthworms in general. It may vary from species to species. Multiplication of earthworms. Earthworm multiplies very rapidly. They become sexually mature in about 8 to 12 weeks of hatching. That is, after hatching, they mature in within 8 to 12 weeks. And these mature worms can produce 3 cocoons per week. And each produce about 10 to 12 tiny worms. So the multiplication would be very rapid. They double their number in every 60 days. In every 60 days, earthworms number gets doubled. So you can just imagine how fast the multiplication occurs and how bulk the amount of earthworms will be. It can multiply at the rate of 256 worms for every 6 months from a single individual. Each of the 256 worms can multiply in the same rate to produce a huge biomass of worms. A single earthworm can produce 300 to 400 young ones within their lifetime. So the lifespan of earthworm is said to be 3 to 7 years. So that's the case with multiplication. So we have so far covered life cycle of earthworm. Now let's move on to the section of exotic species and indigenous species. So what are exotic species? Exotic species of earthworm are species native to foreign countries. They are not present in our surroundings or premises. They are exported or carried from one country, from our nearest countries, for commercial purposes. So they are mainly exported from China, Australia, New Zealand, and Russia. So what is the need of these exotic species? Why can't we use the one present in our surroundings? So these are the characteristics. The exotic species are suitable for vermicomposting because of the following characteristics. They have a rapid growth. They feed on almost any organic matter. They have a wide temperature tolerance, apart from our earthworms that are found in our surroundings. They can be easily handled and have a high reproductive rate. So because of these peculiar features, exotic species are extensively used for the purpose of vermiculture and vermicomposting techniques. So what are the exotic species? First one, Eisenia fetida. Eisenia fetida is known as the Chinese worm, commonly known under various names: red worm, compost worm, manure worm, brandling worm, etc., and is a species of earthworm adapted to decaying organic material. They thrive in rotting vegetation, compost and manure, and are epigeic, that is, they live on the surface soil. They are the habitant of a surface soil, and it's cosmopolitan in distribution. A body is long, slender, cylindrical, and bilaterally symmetrical, about 10 to 13 centimeter length and 3 to 6 millimeter thickness. So dorsal surface is light pink to brown, ventral surface is pale colored, has about 100 to 120 segments. Clitellum is saddle shaped, occupies in the segments of 26 to 32. At first we have said that 14 to 17, so in this case it differs from each other. It lies in the 26th to 32nd segment. It can tolerate wide range of temperature from 0 to 35 degrees Celsius. Commercially produced earthworm, so only they are used. So this is a picture of Eisenia fetida. You can just see the color. Even though all the earthworms may look similar, there may be slight variations in case of color and their working conditions and how they are formed in their length, size, etc. So that's Eisenia fetida. Next one, Eisenia hortensis, called the European night crawler, commonly called European night crawler, widely distributed in India, North and South America, South Africa, Australia and California. Body length is 5 cm, generally pink grey in color. In the previous case it was light pink to brown color. Here it is pink grey in color with banded stripes, banded appearance or striped appearance. The tip of the tail is often cream or pale yellow in color. Next, the species is usually found in deep woodland litter and garden soils that are rich in organic matter, used for vermicomposting and sewage beds. So this is Eisenia hortensis. Next, Eudrilus eugeniae, commonly used earthworm species for vermicomposting technique, widely distributed in North America, India, South America, Africa and New Zealand, commonly called the African night crawlers. Larger epigeek species lives on soil surface, feed on decaying plants and animal matters, and it has a length of about 9 to 16.5 cm and 4 to 8 mm thickness. Bright blue or green in color, dorsal surface or anterior end. Posterior end is much faded. Dorsal surface red brown colored and ventral side is light brown. 145 to 203 segments are present. Clitellum in the 14th to 17th segment and used for vermicomposting. So this is Eudrilus eugeniae, commonly used, that is extensively used species for vermicompost technique. Lumbricus terrestris, it's much rarely used, but it's also an exotic species. Large reddish worm native to Europe, distributed all over the world, commonly known as dew worms, night crawlers, scrub worm, etc. Lives in permanent vertical burrows and feeds on soil-bound decaying organic matters in the subsoil. So that's all about exotic species. So this is a picture of Lumbricus terrestris. Next, about the indigenous species, those which are present in our surroundings or native to our country. That is first one, Perionyx excavatus, commonly called the Indian blue worms. Epigeek earthworm, lives in organic waste. It's a commercially produced one. North Indian species, not present in southern areas. They are present in northern areas. It's said to be originated from the Himalayan mountains. Body is about 115 to 178 segmented, 3 to 18 cm in length and 2.5 to 7 mm width. And so the dorsal side is violet red with blue iridescence and ventral side is pale cream in color. Clitellum occupies 13 to 18 segments. This is Perionyx excavatus. Second one, Megascolex moriti, commonly found in our surroundings, in our premises, that is in our garden areas. These what earthworm we are seeing as Megascolex moriti or Lampito moriti, and they are nocturnal and habit and light yellowish in color. Body slender, cylindrical and bilaterally symmetrical, about 8 to 21 cm long and 3 to 4 mm width. Has 100 to 125 segments. Clitellum in 14th to 17th one segment. The food is decaying animal and vegetable matters. Species are good for vermiculture. Not much extensively used, but they are also suitable for vermiculture technique. This is Megascolex moriti. Third one or the last one, Octocotona serrata, There are also Indian worms and endogeeks and large worms growing more than 1 meter in length. They feed on decaying organic matter and mineral soil particles, live in permanent burrows, build deep horizontal burrows extending up to the upper layer of mineral soil. So these worms are seen on the surface of the earth only during rainy season. It helps in the incorporation of minerals into topsoil layers and aerating the soil, and their movement helps in the growth of the plants. It's the only worm that grows up to a size of 1 meter. So, so these are the exotic and indigenous species we have so far discussed about. So that's all. Thank you.